I haven't started yet. We are waiting for more to join. We'll start by 11:55. We will start. So we have discussed competition, and we have a little bit more to discuss about cooperation. My screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can see that I'm writing here, right? Right. Can you
Yes,
see
yes, sir. Cooperation.
cooperation? So we have some more topics to discuss today regarding cooperation. So in competition and cooperation, mostly they go they both of them have a similar kind of pattern. So in cooperation, we have some more to discuss. So cohesiveness is the fundamental part of cooperation. Cohesive. Cohesiveness. So it's like particularly in a group context. In a group context, the group members will be having a bond between each other, and that kind of bond create an in-group, out-group kind of reality in the participants' mind. The group that person exists is in group, and whatever outside the person exists, the group is an out-group. Out-group will be automatically will be created when one person being part of a group. So, so if we are going against or going, if we are going deviated from the group rules and norms, then it will fragile the group. So cohesiveness is very important, and it is also considered as um, so there are certain factors that enhance cooperation and cohesiveness. Yeah? group. So the first one kind of thing is there will be something called super ordinate goals. So superordinate goals means something that unifying the members. There will be a common goal, and a group of people are moving towards to achieve that goal, and that goal can be achieved by group as a team. So in such kind of situation, the cohesiveness of the group and the cooperation in the group will be higher. So that kind of goals, the common goal that unifying a group of people is called superordinate goals, and that always enhance the group cohesiveness and cooperation. And another concept is cooperative learning. So what cooperative learning means? Having a possibility of interaction between all class of people, all class, all caste, ethnic group. It's a kind of mix of it's a mix like we allow children to interact with other children, right? Because when they get into interact with we won't be looking at the differences between the children background. They are just children. Doesn't matter whether they're coming from lower income or higher income, privileged caste or minority. No such things are there. It's all just children. So they engage with each other. So they share many things. That will give a better understanding of each other. So, like this saying, in adult population cases, uh, 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 there's a possibility. There is not a possibility. It will improve attitudes technically. So cooperative learning improve attitudes. So attitudes are we have discussed later in the offline classes. Attitudes are the say, cognitive component. It's like it stores information. It stores information. What kind of information? It's a information perception, uh, perspective towards a group or a group of people or a community or a society, anything. So uh, along with this cooperative learning, there is another thing is groups and group and superordinate identities. Superordinate identity means uh, when we become the part of the group, we accommodate a new kind of identity into our identity, which share the common goal of the group. But at the same time, we will be having a different kind of other identities uh, which we belong. Cohesiveness. Uh, cohesiveness means the bond between people. The normal meaning of cohesiveness is sticking together, so that it will enhance the bonding. But when you're in school, we have this thing called classmates. It doesn't that classmates doesn't mean the other classmates. Okay, only the class that you study and the people that sit with you in that room is classmate. The next class is not classmates. You will say batchmate. It's not classmate. So why that differentiation? Because the classmates is to have a cohesiveness, a kind of invisible bond between you people. That is what cohesiveness means. So groups and super ordinary entities when people have subgroup, uh, people have a lot of identities. So there will be different groups of identities which contain superordinate identity, which share with a group of members, and there will be their social identities, their personal identities. So they will learn how to adjust these identities and accommodate and how to eliminate certain behavioral patterns and accumulate new identities or new patterns. So much of learning will happen in the process of cooperation. Okay. So now we will look into the factors influencing uh, cooperation. Okay. So uh, factors influencing cooperation. So here we have reciprocity, personal orientation, and third one, communication. So reciprocity that we have explained yesterday, the principle of reciprocity, which is when we receive something, we have the kind of tendency or kind of kind of gratitude. We feel a gratitude towards the person who gave us something. So that feeling of gratitude may make us to do something back to them. So that is that reciprocal behavior. So reciprocity is high. That is that reciprocity, when it gets high, the cooperation enhances. If there is no reciprocity in the group, the cooperation will be less. Then second one is personal orientation. So not all the people in the world go with cooperative mentality. Okay, some may want to be completely stand alone and do things. So their personal orientation about cooperation and being a part of a group or um, shared identity, a lot of things factors there. It's not only about being cooperative. They may don't want to share they don't want to be add a group identity into their personal identity. They uh, they may not work well with group settings. So there are a lot of factors that influence uh, cooperation, and among reciprocity, personal orientation is a very important factor. So if a person is that having a kind of quality of engaging with people. I'm not talking about introvert extrovert. Okay, introvert can also exist. Introverts are there in groups. Okay, introvert and extrovert are personality traits. I'm not talking about and extrovert. Personal orientation is more about the social interaction, interaction mostly. Introverts, when they are in the group, they mingle, they interact, and they do everything. But there are people whose orientation are not that extensive. Okay. So the third factor is communication. So having a proper transition of information. The information should be clear, it should be precise, and there should not be any confusions, nothing. It should be passed properly. So the reciprocity, personal orientation, and communication. These three factors influence cooperation. Any questions? Any doubt? Anything? Or shall we
No,
move
sir.
to the next?
No, sir.
Thank you. So we will move to
Vishnu sir,
next.
one,
Yes,
one,
yes.
can you please repeat a bit about the superordinate goals?
Okay. See, superordinate goals. Superordinate. It's simple. It's like if you are taking
Interaction.
if you are taking a cricket match, for example, cricket match. Okay. So in cricket match, there will be two teams, A and B. So both A and B have to achieve. They both are competing for a common goal. Okay, like some prize. So for in this group there will be 11 people, and in this group there will be 11 people. Right. So this all, so total there is 22 people. So all these 22 people's goal is to win the prize. It is just in the two groups. So if you are taking this group as an example, all the 11 people's motive is to achieve, to get the prize, and it can only achieve through a group activity. You can't, in cricket match, you can't win the prize in single hand. You need a team, and that group of team will play against each other, and then they will achieve the prize. So that this is superordinate goal.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So this superordinate goal, and this presence of the superordinate goal will enhance cohesiveness in this group and in this group, or cooperation. Understood? Got?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other doubt? Shall we move to the next topic?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the next topic that we are discussing is obedience. Okay. So obedience is again, it's another form of social influence. Okay. So obedience is another form of influence, social influence, just like conformity, cooperation, competition, all those things. Okay. But the difference between all those things and obedience is it happens in the presence of an authority. Okay. Obedience happens in the presence of an authority. It can be a person, it can be a group, anything. Parent is an authority. So, the presence of an authority. So obedience happens in the presence of an authority. So it's very important. Authority is very important. So there are a lot of interesting experiments happened in the process of understanding obedience. Okay. So we will talk about obedience in a little bit. So first, the obedience is actually starting how humans learn obedience. It's from family context. So as a child, there will be a parent. So as an individual, obedience is not a innate quality of human. Okay, it's a learned quality. It's occurred. It's learned. So how it is learned? It's through parents or caregivers. There will be parents or caregivers, teachers. So mostly parents and caregivers. In the absence of parents, whoever is taking care of the child is caregiver and the teacher. So for a child, the primary authorities are these. Okay. So from there, they start to learn the process of obedience. So there will be an authority figure, and that authority figure will make command, no request. In obedience, there is no request. If it is a request, then it will be a compliance. Here, it will always kind of a command or instruction in that way. So the person have to conform or they have to be compliant. They have to accept the whatever the command or instruction coming from the authority figure. So this this will add on. Okay. This will add on when they grow up, when they go on and when they explore more social identities and social uh, life. They get into more authority figures like lot of things. So one famous experiment that actually gave a chance to look into the psychological process or social psychological process of obedience is starting 1960s by Milgram. So Milgram, the psychologist name. So he conducted an experiment. So his experiment was actually uh, to understand why human do that, because the basic obedience, the concept of obedience. I'm not talking about the higher authority of police or law and order, nothing like that. Basic kind of obedience. For example, in the parent-child or among the peer group or somewhere which is not that much harmful. So his study was conducted as there will be an experimenter. So Milgram's experiment was happening like there will be an experimenter. Okay. There will be an experimenter, and there is a teacher, and then there is a learner. So 3 people are there as part of the experiment. So the learner here is a confederate. Confederate means this person is part of the experiment. So he is not a participant. So only here the teacher is only the participant. Okay, in this experiment, the teacher is the participant. So so what happens is like this experimenter gave an instruction to the teacher that there will be a particular instrument, and whenever the learner makes mistake, you press the button on that instrument that will give a shock to the learner as part of punishment for his wrong answer. Okay, so it is the teacher receive that instruction or command from the experimenter. So here the experimenter is the actual authority figure. Okay. So this teacher gives the shock, and for each mistakes, they will increase the voltage or the intensity of the shock that they are given to the learner. And the experimenter gives 4 commands to the teacher. So the first one is please continue. Okay. So the volt is actually starting from 15 to 450. So this is the range of volt. And the second command will come like experiment requires that you continue. Okay. And the third one is this absolutely essential that you continue. And the fourth one is you have no other choice. You must go on. Okay. So it will start with the 15, and for each mistake the learner makes, the authority give, please continue. So it will increase the voltage. Okay. So there will be a point that when the voltage will become 150, almost reaching 100, something like that, they will start screaming. In between, they will start showing some kind of uncomfortability and everything. And when they reach a kind of 100 or something, they will start screaming. So the experimenter gave the command. The experiment requests that you continue. So the teacher will go on asking, and they will make mistake. They have to increase. It is again the authority. The experimenter gives. It is absolutely essential that you continue to the teacher. It will again give. and it will, when it is reaching almost 400, 450, almost kind of thing, they will be screaming. So you have no other choice, you must go on. This is the command, again getting to the participant, actually teacher. Actually, there is no shock. The learner is actually acting. There is no shock. But even the person is uh, having a lot of pain and screaming and begging and everything, the participant, the teacher won't stop. It will increase, it will go on, because it is coming from the experimenter or the authority. So this is obedience. Fundamentally, the obedience starts from here, then here. So understood the experiment, everyone? Experiment, everyone understood? Does anyone have any?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, because whatever we are going to discuss is based on this experiment. So remember this experiment in your mind.
Sir, if as you said that, please continue is for 15 to 450 volts. Yes, sir.
Yeah, they will start with 15 volts, and for each wrong answer, they will increase with 10 watts, something like that. Okay.
Okay. So whereas the others, sir, so 2, 3, 4, whereas experiments request that you continue. So that will come in these 15 to 450 itself, sir.
Yeah, it's like that. Whenever the learner makes mistake, the authority gives the command. The teacher will give a shock, and each time the shock will increase by 15. So the first shock is 15 volt, and the second shock will be 30 volt plus 15. So 30 volt, then again plus 15, 45 volt. So it will increase according to plus 15, plus 15, plus 15 volts. So it will go on and increase, and it will make more pain to the learner. But even though the learner is getting that much pain, the teacher won't stop giving the shock, because the authority is giving the command that you should go on. So the teacher won't disobey that. So that is obedience, and uh, in some way we call it destructive obedience also. Okay, because it can harm a person, and even though there is lot of issues. So this Milgram's experiment was subject to criticism of ethical consideration, because the pain and everything, and the shock and the acting and lot of things, because the teacher is actually under the pressure, which is the participant. So even they have something against their will, they are not allowed to do that. So they have this kind of a traumatic kind of experience, because this experiment was carried out multiple times in multiple contexts in multiple way, that you can read more on your textbooks. So there was a lot of ethical complaints, but later studies shown that the participants were not affected that much by the experiment, since it was an experiment. They were told it was an experiment. And after that, the debriefings happened. So when later, after a couple of years, some psychologists, some researchers went to the participants who were teachers. They went to them and they talked to them. So they said, like, they were it was uncomfortable for them for a couple of days, but later they were fine because it was part of experiment and nothing bad happens to anyone. They were getting debriefing and everything. So, and they were happy about being part of a psychological experiment.
No, one clarification, sir.
Yes.
Actually, in this experiment, how many people are there? The
There is-
experimenter, the teacher,
And the
Is the-
learner.
and the learner.
Yeah.
the
So
sh-
learner is actually learner we call confederate. Confederate means
I see.
he's a part of the experiment. We have
I see. Actually, who is receiving the electrical shock?
the learner.
Learner. I see.
Yeah. The teacher is giving shock to learner.
Oh, teacher is administering that, and experimenter
Yeah.
is seeing everything.
Yeah. Experimenter gives the command.
I see.
Experimenter say
Yes.
when learner makes mistake, teacher give a shock. But when it is the shock is increasing for each mistake. So there will be a point that learner will show a high amount of pain. So maybe the teacher will look at the experimenter. So the experimenter will say that you should go on. You should go on. You don't stop. You should go on. So they will increase the each mistake, the shock that the learner receives is increased voltage. It is not the initial one. It is increased by 15, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300. It will go on that much. The intensity will increase. So the pain will be higher. But actually there is no shock. Actually there is no pain. The learner is a confederate. Learner is a confederate. Confederate means this person is part of the experiment. These two people are this person and this person is part of the experiment. Only this is the participant.
So, but the confederate,
Huh.
is he actually experiencing the shock?
No. There is no shock. There is no shock.
Oh.
That is I'm repeating that.
That's
multiple
what.
times.
Yeah. It's good you repeated.
Yeah.
I
This they are acting. There is no shock. There is no pain.
Oh, I see. Physically, nothing is happening. It's only
There
a
is
drama.
nothing is happening. There is only a drama.
Say so. I see.
Clear?
Thank you.
So from this study, they have identified some social psychological principles. Okay, some principles that predict or that is a major factor in the process of obedience. So the first one is the link between behavior and attitude. Okay. The second one is the power of the situation. And the third one, fundamental attribution error. I hope some of you remember what this is. Okay. So link between behavior and attitude, the first one. The person's attitude towards being obedient, about the social pressure, the person who is giving the social pressure, the person who is receiving the social pressure, and a lot of things. So that attitude towards everything, that one thing and their behavior. Okay. Some people
Sir,
like
Bandura's Bobodal experiment like that.
Exactly. That we will come into that. We will. It's coming in the modeling. Okay. So the behavior and attitude will be there. So how they perceive, how the content of their social reality, their receiving end and everything, and their behavioral pattern. So this determine one, and another one, power of the situation. How much weight that authority have, and how much influence it is, the consequences and everything, and the fundamental attribution error. Can someone say what is fundamental attribution error? People in the offline classes, and someone here, can someone say what is fundamental attribution error?
Tendency to attribute other person's behavior to internal
Behavior. Exactly. So fundamental attribution error means we say if it is a bad person, it's a bad person. Okay. We don't look at the situation and so the situational factors and external factors. If the person do something, goes wrong, do some fault, make some mistakes, we believe the first it is the personality. It's the person is like that. We attribute that person. We don't look at we ignore, we delete the situational factor. So this is a cognitive bias. It is an error in our thinking process. So we think that the person who is receiving, in the case of experiment, the learner is making mistake. So he has to be punished. Like he is making mistake. So there is something wrong with the person. Fundamental attribution error will be there. So these three things they have identified from the experiment. Okay, these three things. And then there were some predictions about is this clear? Is this part clear?
Clear, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So two questions that regarded with the experiment came was, why do many people obey the experiment? Okay. So the first question, that why everyone obeyed, because there is the teacher is not doing by themselves. It is not their uh, actual response. It was influenced by the experimenter, the obedience. So they will say like, I did because I received the command or order from the experimenter. That's why I gave shock to the learner. So that passivity of responsibility is one major thing. And why did no one expect them to?
There is no option of stopping.
No. It is not about stopping. It is more of psychology. So the thing is that experimenter is also presented himself as a outside person. Like I am a person with objective, neutral attitude towards the learner. I don't know the learner. This is someone from outside. I don't know the person. So this very neutrality, very objective stand of the experiment influence the teacher actually. The teacher think that this person doesn't know learner. So experimenter, whatever the experimenter is saying is it's something from the observation or something from his knowledge or something. They don't know that that the experimenter is having. So if the experimenter say I know the learner, the teacher may think that the experimenter is taking revenge on the student. So now the teacher can't make any meaning between the experimenter and learner. There is no relationship between them two. That is what the teacher thinks. So the teacher think that experimenter is very objective person. So there is nothing to do with learner. There is no relationship between them. So whatever they say, we can believe. We can believe what that experimenter is saying. So that kind of understanding comes into their mind. So that information, that kind of reasoning, is also another factor that make obedience. Clear? Is that point clear?
No, kindly repeat once again, sir.
Okay. So here, the teacher is the participant. So the psychologist is observing the behavior of the teacher. He is the focal point in the experiment. The learner is part of the experiment. So, but the teacher doesn't know that learner is part of the experiment, and he is a stranger like him. And also, the experimenter tell the teacher that they don't know each other. So, for the teacher, both the teacher and the learner is a unknown person to the experimenter. So whatever that objective, that there is no relationship between these two people. Only the teacher and there is learner. But this person is a confederate that you keep in mind. Okay. So the teacher is only receiving the command from the experimenter. That is why he is giving shock. So and the experimenter don't know the learner. So the relationship is not, there is no relationship between them. So the teacher believes that experimenter, whatever the experimenter is saying, true, because there is no revenge or nothing that relate experimenter and learner. So everything comes from the experimenter is so clear, and they feel that tendency to obey, because it's the experimenter's activity, so he have to do that. So because in the initial period there was no concept of consent taking. Okay, when this experiment was happening, there is no concept of consent form or consent taking or anything. There is nothing like that. So that is why the ethical issues came up. So the teacher, everything is actually in a deceptive way. There won't be any debriefing kind of thing, but because of this experiment, the importance of ethical consideration were important in psychological experiments, because this experiment received a lot of ethical. That is what I recently just before said, that there were a lot of ethical criticism came for this experiment. So the participant, actually the teacher, doesn't know what is actually happening in the experiment. Nothing. They don't know anything about the experiment. Someone is drawing in the board. Please don't touch your screen. Please don't touch your screen.
Here, sir,
Yeah, yeah.
all the three,
Huh.
that is the experimenter, the teacher, and the person, confederate or something, learner or whatever, do they know that they are faking?
Sir, no.
Has it been briefed to them?
No, see, this experiment is happening long years before, like 1960s. That time there was, so the experimenter and the learner know it is an experiment. Only the teacher don't know that it was that it is an experiment. The teacher knows it is an experiment,
I see.
but the shock, what the giving shock, that is teacher don't know. It is a fake shock. That is the only thing.
Okay, but teacher is believing she is giving the shock.
Exactly.
I see.
So we are moving to the next topic.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, reducing how we reducing. See, these psychological experiments are. It will take some time to understand. Maybe the problem with my explanation also, but you may need to read multiple times. There will be videos.
May I know the name of this experiment?
Milgram's obedience. You can study Milgram's experiment, like Milgram. You just Milgram's experiment.
Okay.
We'll get it. Okay. So when they, along with Milgram, along with the other psychologists, later they repeated this experiment. There were some experimenters were shown reduced obedience. So there will be disagreements will be there in the process of obedience, and mostly it happens with the cognitive dissonance that we will discuss later on later chapters. Okay, the disagreement will be there, that the strong conflict inside them that will lead them to either to obey, not to obey, that kind of dilemma. So that kind of thing will happen, and many other factors that can lead to disagreement that in the experimenters. And rebelling peers, that is another. If the person is part of a group of people who are rebellious against the command of the authority, again the obedience will get reduced. And obedience and embarrassment. So in this case also, if when the experimenter was not in the room, the person who is giving the command was not in the room, only the teacher and learner is there, the authority figure have gone. So actually the teacher doesn't have any particular authority, only the authority belongs to the experimenter, and the experimenter leaves the room. The teacher have to face the learner without any authority, without any power. So that will give a kind of shame or kind of guilt or things like that. So that is another one factor that reducing the obedience. And another one is distance from the victim. Sorry. Anyone asked any questions or something? Okay. So distance from the victim. If the learner is sitting very close to the person, the effect will be higher. And if the learner is sitting kind of very far from the teacher, so it will be less. So, for example, if the teacher is holding the hand of the learner, and each time that they are giving shock, they can feel they're shivering in their hand and sweating and all those things. So that will give a kind of impact on the teacher also. It will be very hard for them to resist. Am I not audible? Am I audible?
Audible,
Someone
sir.
said,
Audible, sir.
okay, I'm audible. I'm audible. Okay.
Audible,
So
sir.
the distance makes the disobedience. If the distance is very close, they can feel that pain. So it will be higher to give that kind of things. But if the victim is somewhere far, they are not actually receiving that much. The intensity of the pain that victim is getting, the teacher will receive it less when if it is far away. So that is another factor. If the victim is too close, the person who is giving the learner is too close, the teacher, the amount of shock that is given each time by the teacher will also feel that uncomfortability. Okay. And there are certain factors that enhance or that foster or breed the obedience. So based on this experiment and many other experiments, they have come up with some psychological process, major psychological processes that that foster or that cultivate, breeds obedience. So the one is emotional distance. Emotional, okay. And authority is closeness. It is there in your book. Okay. And then legitimacy. We will explain each. We will explain it. And fairness. The authority is institution. Whether the authority is institutionalized or not. And how the participant, whether the liberating effect of the disobedient participant. there will be a liberating feel when you don't obey and fall off from the pain.
So what is fourth
Liberated.
one, sir? Authorities?
Authorities, institution. So among these, legitimacy, fairness, obedience, and responsibility. This have higher influence, very much influence on the process of obedience. Okay. So legitimacy means in the experiment, this experiment was happening, or this experiment was done by an university, by a psychologist, group of psychologists. So there won't be nothing evil will happen. Okay, because it is happening by a university. It is conducted by a university, so nothing evil will happen. And in the experiment, actually, there was something that I forgot to mention. That in the experiment, actually, the experimenter gives papers to the learner. First, to the learner, that the person who is representing as learner, the exit two papers, one will be written as teacher and another will be written as learner. So the learner will take one thing and act as, oh, I got the chit as teacher, so you will be I am learner, you are the teacher. So that kind of role decision is there. Okay, that again the teacher doesn't know. The actual participant actually doesn't know about this part. So the teacher was thinking, okay, the person got the chance to take the possibility of learner. It can be me also, but he took the chit, so he took the paper, he became the learner. If I was taking that, I will become the learner. So that freedom of choosing was given there. But again, it was again an acting of the experimenter and the learner. So the teacher, the participant, the actual participant thought, okay, that fairness of role is there. It was not forced. It was not at all forced. So there is no kind of clouding. There is nothing is there. So the legitimacy, the fairness, and the responsibility, the obedience, the responsibility of the obedience. Again, it is the university is happening, and the experimenter is actually responsible, because experimenter is giving me the command, the instruction to give the shock. So I am giving that shock. So the responsibility, the sole responsibility will go to the experimenter. So legitimacy, the experiment is conducted by a university, a group of psychologists. So there is nothing grave harm or a big danger. Nothing is will be there. That one thought. Fairness, that the teacher and learner, they gave the freedom to choose their role, but actually it was a planned thing between the experimenter and the learner. but it happened between the teacher and learner. And the responsibility, again, the teacher won't having the responsibility of giving shock to the student, because teacher giving shock because the experimenter is giving the instruction to the teacher. Clear? Clear? Any doubt? Anyone have any doubt or any questions? Anything? Because we are, otherwise we will have to move to other topic.
Here the
questions?
victim is a learner, so
Yeah, victim is the not learner, the teacher. I know. I think you got a lot of confused with the experiment. But please read that experiment. I will before that I will explain the experiment once again. Okay, we will make the clarity on that. So this experiment happened is done by a psychologist called Milgram. Okay, and it is conducted by Yale University. Okay. So Milgram appointed an experimenter to do the research. Okay, experimenter. So this experimenter have a assistant confederate. We call it confederate. He is also part of the experiment. So this confederate will become the learner. Okay, and this experimenter is there, and the experiment together Milgram, the experimenter, and the confederate, who is a learner. These three people know they will choose a person as teacher. Okay, so there is teacher, there is learner, and there is experimenter. Actually, these two people come together in front of the experimenter. Okay, these two people come together in front of the experimenter, and the experimenter will give a chit to the learner to choose whether the person wants to the role of teacher or the role of learner. So this person will take the paper and read, okay, I got the role of learner. So this person will become the teacher. So there is a freedom of choice. That is what the teacher believes. This is the participant. Okay, participant. When we say victim, actually it is not a victim. There is no victim. But when we say victim, the person who receives the pain. That is why we are saying it is a victim. But there is no victim actually. Okay. So this participant, this is the actual participant. This is our object of observation. Or this is the person we are learning. The obedience happens in this person. Okay, and we are learning how the obedience is happening. So the experimenter will tell the teacher that each time the learner makes a mistake, give a shock. Okay, so the teacher is the participant. So participant thing, it is an experiment conducted by a university. So there is no big problems will happen. It will be protected. That is what I said, legitimacy. Okay, the legitimacy is there. And in the front of this participant, the experimenter gave two paper to the learner, which the learner can choose. This person, this we can say participant 1 and participant 2. Okay, so the experimenter gave participant 2 a chit to choose. So the person took a paper, and in that paper it is written learner. So he said, okay, I got the chit of learner, so you will be the teacher. So again it is happening in front of the participant one. So he think, okay, it's a fair deal. This person was not forced by the experimenter to become a learner, and not to and I am also not forced by the experimenter to become a teacher. So there was a fair deal happen. It was a lot. There was a lot happen. So he got a lot of learner, and I got a lot of teacher. But that was also a plan of the study. Okay. So that shows the fairness. The legitimacy is there. The fairness is there. Fairness is there. Another thing. Each time the participant one is giving shock to participant two, which is a teacher is giving a shock to learner, they feel some kind of uncomfortability. If the learner is sitting too close, they feel a kind of uncomfortability. If the learner is sitting a little bit far away, that will be less. Okay. But again, each time they are receiving the shock, they will show that they will act that they are receiving as a shock, painful shock. Whatever the conflict or emotional turmoil or confusions, dilemmas happens in the mind of participant one, it will be attributed to the experimenter, because the teacher, the participant one is not doing all these things by themselves or himself. It's a command from the experimenter. Experimenter is saying, give shock to him, give shock to the learner. Each time they make mistake, the experimenter give, go on, go on. So each time the power of the shock is also increasing. No, pseudo shock or pseudo power is increasing. There will be some light. There is a mission actually. You can see that, like, this kind of mission. So each time the teacher press the button, this will blink. So just like 15 volt, again 30 volt, 50 volt, 70 volt, 100 watt. So light will be there. Thus the teacher is getting a feedback also. The teacher will getting a feedback. So the the person who is obeying the experimenter's command. So here the obedience is happening. So we are looking why they are repeating the shock, even the person is in the pain. So this process is obedience. The behavior of the teacher or the behavior of the participant one, or the participant, actually participant. This behavior is known as obedience. Okay, so we can see that behavior in that kind of situations. If you are taking a student, there is teacher, the presence of the teacher, and the command they will do, and everything happens, like every kind of organizations or institutions based on the process of obedience. That is what important. If the experimenter is not a authorized person from this university or not part of a Milgram study, some random person and doing this, that means this person doesn't have any authority. This person is not associated with any institution. For example, if the experimenter is some person who is doing some experiment, and he is not associated with any kind of university, he is not a psychologist, he is no one. Randomly he is doing some kind of thing by paying this person. But so there is no authority, there is no other person, doesn't have an institution, there is no power or anything. So maybe this participant, after a point, they will stop, they will disobey, they will show the disobedience. Got it? Clear?
Yes, sir.
It's okay.
Obeying.
We'll take. We all took a lot of time to understand psychological experience. Not only this, there are more experiments to come. It's not a problem. Anything you want me to explain more because next that we have to discuss modeling. And modeling is another big topic. So I thought I will start from the next class because it's almost our time is over. And the modeling, we have to finish it. We can finish it in one go. Okay. So if you have more doubt on the experiment, you can ask. More on, we will clear that. Because the next topic, modeling, we will be covering on next class. Any doubt or any questions, anything?
No, sir.
So clear for everyone, at least to some extent. I'm not. So I hope you understood. Some extent, please read more. So next class we will be looking on modeling. Okay. So modeling is again coming under learning theories that you studied: classical conditioning, operant conditioning, and social cognitive learning. Albert Bandura's social cognitive learning. So I would suggest everyone to read this portion, the portion modeling, to get a familiarity with some words. We will explain. Obviously, the explanation will be going. But to get the familiarity of many words and concepts, so please do come read by reading, because we are having lack of time. We have a lot of portions to finish also. Is that fine?
Good morning, sir. Can you please explain the nature of the practical exams? How are they conducted, or what is expected in it?
Okay, okay. I will clear that once again. I am not part of Ambedkar University, so I am not aware of anything related with your assignments, your practical class, practical exam, your university exam, assignments, nothing.
Okay,
Okay.
not in according to Ambedkar, but usually what will happen?
Usually
General context.
in general context, in psychological experiments, you are asking about experiment like university that your exams or normal.
Usually exams.
Okay,
In
so
line to
usually in
exams.
exams, so if having, you will be learning 10 different kind of assessments, different kind of things that you will study in your practical class. You will study in your practical class, experimental psychology, or you will be having a practical side. So there will be, if you are learning 10 different kind of practicals, so it will be assessments or IQ test or personality assessment, how to measure self-esteem. There will be there are a lot of assessments in psychology. So for example, if you have 10 assessments to study, so in exam, there will be the teacher, the faculty, and an external. The two people will be there. So there will be a lot of papers. So you will be asked to take one. So when you take one, there will be two questions. Usually this happens. There will be two questions. So you can select one question to do the practical exam and one question for the viva. So once you have chosen which question that you are going to do the experiment, you will be given a piece of paper. So you have to write what are the materials that you needed to do that experiment. So if you miss any object or miss any part of anything, any object, any materials that needed for the experiment, if you miss that, they won't give. So you have to remember what are the materials that you needed for each experiment. So for an IQ test, the battery, what assessment if you are using, the battery, manual, pen, pencil, time, the like stop, timer, lot of things. So once you receive the everything, they will ask you to write the whole experiment, the introduction, the procedure, how you conduct it, and everything, table and everything. Once everything is done, you have to bring a participant who is not a psychologist or who is not a student of psychology. Someone from the non-psychology student or non-psychology person who don't know psychology. You have to bring someone. So then you will administer that psychological experiment that you have studied, whatever that you have choose as a question. So the external examiner will be standing and they will observe how you are administering the experiment. So how you are giving instruction, how you are building the rapport, how you are giving proper instruction that how to do these things, and how you are dealing with the participant or your subject. So once everything is done, then you will finish the experiment, then you can ask the subject to leave, then you will do the analysis and everything, then you will write the report, and then there will be viva. So the external actually can ask questions from the experiment that you have did, or any questions from this 10 experiments. Yeah. So you actually have to study all those. So this is what usually happens in viva, like practical experiments in university. Clear?
Yeah, clear. And it's scary also.
Yeah, it's scary. It's really scary. So you have to learn all the 10 practicals. You have to remember the names. You have to remember the name of the materials. Some experiments have 10 materials. Some may have 2 materials. You have to remember the procedure. You have to remember the table. So for each practical, different tables we will be using. Calculating the scores that we are receiving in the assessment, that also have different statistical analysis. Each assessment has different analysis method. Yeah. And interpreting the scores, that is very important. How we are interpreting. We can't interpret using our common sense. We have to interpret using the theory based on the tool that instrument is developed. So you should remember a lot of theories also. So one assessment is based on 5 or 6 theories. Yeah. So it's a little hard.
Understood. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's worth it, because once you have become a psychologist, demands to do multiple assessment at a time. So we have to remember. So we will wind up. We'll see you on the next class. Hope I think I was able to, at least I introduced you to the experiment. Okay, maybe you may not understood the experiment completely, but there is experiment called Milgram's obedience. So please read more on, and if you're having any doubt or something, we can have discussion on the next class. Or also, if you are, let's see how our regular classes is going. If the portion is not finished, we may need to take additional classes, or we will see into that. Okay, then thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.